Wow. So really, really honored to be chatting to one of the, let's call him superstars of the FGC, Jabhi Mabuza. Jabhi, thanks so much for your time this Saturday morning.
Yeah, and so, as I said, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Jabhi, now just first time I'm chatting to you, just to sort of give a lot of the people that are going to be watching this a little bit of insight into who Jabhi Mabuza is and how you got into e-gaming and specifically Street Fighter 5.
Wow. Jabhi Mabuza is your ordinary guy in his 20s there, work IT technician slash support engineer. And then during my spare time, I get into, when I come back from home, I get into gaming. But I've always been into gaming. This didn't really start now. It started back when I was a kid. Me and my friend actually used to go out to other arcades and hunt for competition there. So when I got into college, I kept on wondering, like, I wish there's like an esports side to this. At that time, I didn't know what esports was, but I'm like, man, I wish there's like more competitors like this, like was actual tournaments for this. And then by mistake on Facebook, I stumbled onto a post by Arena that says it's a Street Fighter 5 tournament. At that time, I've never played Street Fighter 5, so I was like, okay, no, let me go, and I'll probably win. I got there, I got destroyed because I didn't I didn't know the game. I knew the characters, but I didn't know the game. So I was like, okay. I started asking around. I'm like, these tournaments, do they happen often? Then the guys they were like, nah, they don't really happen often in SA, but abroad, this is like a career. So I started going to YouTube and I'm seeing that, it's actually big abroad. And at that time when I started attending tournaments, it had just started to kick off. Like the FGC has been around for some time, but the esports side was starting to kick off now. So I came in at the right time. Later on in the year, even though I lost in that tournament, I still qualified for the big one because I was like top 4 there. And then in the big one, I met one of the guys there at Arena who was like, he asked me like, do you like this game? I'm like, I don't even know much about it. Me and my little brother we're watching YouTube, and then trying to pick up some moves there, and then we're gonna try them on the spot. So he was impressed that about the determination that me and my little brother had, and then he was like, you know what, you don't have a console yet, so come to my place, start practicing on my console. So prepare yourself up until you can get your own console. So then, yeah, got my own console, started attending events, although I was losing a lot. I was losing quite like a lot, but I kept on going to events. And then I started getting tournament experience. And then I think, which was, I think 2017, Art Gaming hosted their first Street Fighter 5 tournament at Rush. Rush, yeah, Rush, not Rush. Is it Rush? Yeah, it's Rush. Because I think Rush started in 2016, and that's when I actually used to discover this esports out of Street Fighter. So in 2017, I went back into Rush with Arc Gaming's tournament, and I won. That was my first tournament that I won. And from there, it just started being more practice, entering more tournaments. 2018, I think it was a slowdown. There wasn't really much. I think that was the peak of my career.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's when.
looking at your career highlights, and I mean, remember them off the top of my head because there's so many of them. I mean, just running through this, you were first in ACGL Street Fighter tournament, first at Ikasi Tech Fest. You were second in Joburg Beatdown. That was in February last year. Then you won it in March. You entered the Red Bull Hit the Streets competition. You were the first qualifier to win. You won the finals, and obviously that was your big break. I mean, that got you through to, I mean, it got you the big ticket to Japan to go and fight at the Red Bull Kumite Global Tournament. And I suppose from there, you're just looking forward. You're just looking up. I mean, the future's bright for Jabhi.
Yeah, I can say that, because 2019 was the peak. That was when I was practicing. I'm still practicing as much, if not more. But that time there, the ambition was on top. Even still here, but there was like the place where I was like, I don't care what anybody says. It was like my transition to saying, this is my passion. You know, it was just me just letting the world know, saying this is my passion. You know what? Because before that, I was hiding it a bit because when you're in your 20 in a township, if you're in your 20s and you're into gaming, you're not really given much respect. You know, so that was like holding me back to participate in these tournaments much, and I was holding a lot of people back as well. So in 2019 was when I said, screw it. If you gonna laugh at me, it's fine. But this is my passion, and at work, the guys who I was working with, they actually were like, they discovered that I was participating in this events off Facebook. They were just scrolling. I was like, oh shit, you practice you jam in esports? Like, yeah, I'm still trying to get you, and they gave me over the support. Then at that point, I was like, you know what? This is now, I don't care what you're saying, but I'm going to be participating in this wholeheartedly, to the point where even in taxis I was watching matches. You know, I take out my phone and started watching matches. People would look at me strange. They're like, what the hell is this guy doing? Like, he's in his 20s, why is he watching gaming? You know what? I didn't care. You see, I didn't care. So that's when in 2019 I started rocking up wins now. You know, because I was at that point, I'm like, you know what, now this is me. You know, this is what I'm doing. So when I in the Kasi Tech Fest, I went there full prepared. You know, when I got that win, I think that's when I got like more motivation to, and because Red Bull, the qualifier was like the following day. So I was going into the tournament with that momentum now. When I got that first qualifier, I knew, okay, from there, I think it was good that I got the first qualifier, because then I got time to prepare. So what I started doing was I started attending these other qualifiers, not to play, but to watch who's my competitor. You know what? So I started
Ah,
scouting my
clever,
competition now. So I was
clever,
doing
very
that.
clever.
Yeah, so I was doing that. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to the Cape Town ones because that they will be a bit extreme. But I started going to the local ones in Joburg. I started going there to attend just to see who's my competitor. Oh, he won. And I was watching all his matches. It's like, okay, no, I picked up a few things on how he plays offline. And then in the build up to the big one there in Cape Town, everybody was there. I had information on them, on their tendencies. I watched all their matches online, and I've seen a few matches offline. So I had an idea. You see, and even if you can check there, I didn't really use the same character much. I was using specific characters for specific people, because there now I had every information of those guys there.
So
You know, so even yeah,
I want to ask you a couple of questions. You've mentioned a couple of very, very interesting points there, and the first one is momentum. You know,
yeah.
in other, let's call it real sports, action sports, not e-gaming sports. Coaches, players talk a lot about building momentum, particularly in tournaments. How important is building that momentum for you as an e-gamer in your experience?
I'm gonna talk about the Street Fighter 5 specifically, right? So in fighting games, the concept is similar to MMA. You know, if you throw a heavy punch, you take a lot longer to recover. You know, if someone punishes you in that sequence, it already changes the momentum. You know, fighting games are just that delicate that one mistake happens. So when you start punishing your opponent for doing silly mistakes, you yourself start feeling that confidence. And the key thing is feeding off that one during that match. You know, during that match is feeding off it. The momentum for me, I know it was very important because I knew that everybody's going to be is going to be watching my matches. You know, so if they go up against me, they already have that momentum. That, you know what, if I bring this guy down, what's this? I brought one the potential problem. You know, so for me, my momentum wasn't for the prior tournaments, was in game. I was like, if I can punish this guy for throwing heavy moves or doing this, I can build momentum from there. You know, that was for me the crucial points. They already when they facing me, they already have that momentum. You know what? Like, I'm going to beat this guy, then I'm going to win it. You know, at that time I didn't have really someone who's I'm like, I'm going to beat this guy, then I'm going to win it. No, everybody there was like a problem for me. You know, so then I was like, I'm going to feed on the momentum. If you see my second match, then at the Red Bull hit the streets, my opponent Billy, he was feeding off the momentum like, I'm gonna beat this guy, you know, and I was down. Only at the last round, you know what? When I clutched it out, I started building momentum for myself, and he started going. His momentum started going down. Started second guessing himself, and that's when I knew I had him. I started feeding off that momentum now. Like, I know you're gonna start making mistakes, and he did. He started doing stuff that he shouldn't have done.
The other point
So
that you
momentum
made,
is key.
okay, so momentum, very, very key. The other point that you made was you spent a lot of time evaluating many of your, let's call it, your competitors.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you used a lot of what you saw them utilize, whether it be their tactics, whether it be their characters that they use. You've used that very successfully, quite clearly, if we look at your results. But obviously, them doing and applying the same sort of strategy against you, how have you sort of combated that aspect of the game?
It was okay for me to evaluate how they're gonna play. I was looking at their movements when the start of the match. Their movement was gonna tell me how they prepared for me. Like in my first match, I knew my opponent's tendencies. I knew his approach, but he wasn't approaching me the rush down way that he normally does. He started playing more defensively. So then I started now being aggressive because now I know what you're going to do on defense. I already knew what you're going to do on defense, but now he was trying to now combat how I normally play. But he didn't know that I already looked at the whole situation, and your movement in your first match is going to tell me how you prepared for me. In that's the tricky thing about fighting games is like you got 99 seconds to know what this guy is going to do. If you can't figure him out in that 99 seconds, you're most likely going to win it. He's going to lose it there. You see, so
Jabhi,
now the movement is important.
so obviously, I mean, them utilizing what you do and learning from you, how are you countering that from a tactical point of view?
Oof. Yeah, that one is sometimes I play on instinct there. If them learning from me, sometimes I just let go of the notes and just play on instinct. I don't really have a clear answer on that one but the best way I can put it is fighting games, there are three kinds of players. There's those who play on how they feel. There are those who lab the situation and go and then do it in the tournament. And then there's those who just play on instinct. Obviously, there's not just this, everybody steals from those other categories. But since I think that in that situation, me, when I was a kid, going to other arcades, when I wasn't really labbing, I was just playing on instinct and how I feel, came in handy. Because then you throw away what you were labbing in training mode. Because now you see that okay, he prepared this. You have to play on instinct. You have to play on what he's doing and try to react to it. And Street Fighter Five is a game that's all about reads and reaction. It's you're not really. It's what most veterans hate that part about it, but it's actually how the whole game is designed. It's all about reads and reaction.
Jabhi, coming back to your successes, 2019, like you said, that was your, let's call it, springboard year. That was also the
Yes.
year, if I understand correctly, that you were approached by an MGO to potentially sign for them. When you were approached by an MGO, I mean, did you even understand the concept of an MGO?
I think at that time I understand. I did have offers before, right?
Okay.
But I didn't really understand the concept of MGO. In my mind, I thought an MGO is someone who's going to take you to compete abroad. I didn't really understand the concept of what an MGO does. Like, what you need to build you as a brand. All those things. At that time, when the guys approached me, I didn't think that. So when the guys approached me before, they're like, "No, we can take you anywhere in SA." And then I replied to them like, "No, but I can take myself anywhere in SA, so I don't need you." When Goliath game came in that time, now I knew that okay, getting good results is not enough. You need to build your brand. What? You need to now establish an image for yourself. And Goliath Gaming, when they approached me, it was at the perfect time where I thought, like, I already had like the teams in my mind. I'm like, okay, if my fantasy, like my miracle, these teams approach me, I'll definitely sign with them because they can build my brand. And Goliath Gaming, when they approached me, I just instantly was like, yes, because looking at their profile, I'm like, no, these guys are perfect when it comes to building your image, building yourself as a brand. And I think that's the key thing that most competitors don't know. They think winning is what will get you to be signed. That's what will get you to a point there where you're good. But winning is not enough. You need to build yourself as a brand. You need to build an image.
Just talking about that relationship with Goliath Gaming. I mean, Goliath Gaming, I think what they only really got started back in 2017. You get approached by Goliath around about 2019. What specifically stood out for you from Goliath? Because they were very, very young in the industry. I suppose e-gaming in South Africa is still very, very young as an entire industry. But what specifically around Goliath Gaming interested you compared to the others?
For me, it's the whole support on the players. It's very rare to get an MGO that supports their players and is willing to understand more about you as an individual. Because MGOs don't really go for fighting game players.
Yeah.
Because fighting games in SA is it's almost it's lackluster. We're lacking the big events. There are Red Bull was like the first one. That came up, and I think hopefully it continues. We get more events like that. But they were willing to now, understand the scene. Understand you as a player, your scene, how does it look like, how we can approach it. To me, that actually stood out for an MGO to actually say, we're gonna look at this. We're gonna involve ourselves in this scene, and we're going to understand the scene and support our player everywhere we can. That to me stood out.
In terms of Jabhi Mabuza's future goals in e-gaming, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. I don't want to say I see myself retired because me, I hunger for that competitive. Competitive. I have that competitive spirit. When I lost in Japan, I'm the salty guy, so I don't take losses that's likely. So even now, I'm still thinking about how I lost and how I can better myself from there. So in 5 years, I must at least have masters a few tournaments abroad. But in general, I want to be at a point where even when it comes to Twitch streaming, where if I turn on Twitch, I get guys who want to learn more about games, more about fighting games in specific. I want to be that kind of image. Like when the minute I turn on stream, I get like you get like requests like, okay, can you be okay, can you show me this? Can you show me that? And when I attend the tournament, I know that at least I can get top 16. Doesn't matter which tournament it is, but when I go, I can get at least top 16. And I think me going to Japan was an eye opener to show me what the competitive scene is like with the best in the world. What they doing differently than us, how they learning. And that's what we need to try. We also me and my and I came back. I started telling my guys like we need to start now also building our scene to that point, right? Because those guys in Japan don't really need guys from US to build their scene. To build them as players, they're already building each other there. They're already showing each other their shortcoming right there and there. And that's where I think we're lacking because in SA we high tech. If I'm the best and I don't want to show tech, I want to keep that status. Japan is not like that. If there's someone who's showing them, who's giving them problems in US, they go together as a community. They examine his matches. They examine his matches, and then they come out strategies against him. And that's where I think in 5 years I want to be able to build a community like that. And
Absolutely.
also be at a level where we can compete with them.
Jabhi, talking about that, I mean, I absolutely love that sentiment. Looking at what's happening in the FGC at the moment, what are some of the challenges that you are seeing or have seen? I mean, a guy coming out of Alex here in Johannesburg, what are some of those challenges that constantly you guys are facing as young gamers?
The FGC in specific it's a niche crowd, because we're scattered. It's not easy to find players. There are players, when you look on Street Fighter 5 has an option in game where you can just search players in SA and you see there are over hundreds of players, but we're so scattered, First of all, the FGC flourishes in offline events. We don't flourish in online. There's just something about your opponent being in striking range right here, So the FGC flourishes with that. So these challenges is more getting them to come to the events. Yes, when we were running our offline events there at Nexus, we got guys every month. We got new guys. And they always come to us like, I didn't know that this is here. I didn't know there was a community of fighting game players. We got guys kept on coming to us like there's new guys every now, and that's one of the challenges that's there. And the new guys that come, they're obviously still new, so they aren't really at that level where they can compete. So now it's more of is okay, he's here, but does he have the drive to get better? Because we're gonna body him. Is he gonna come back for more?
Yeah.
Sometimes you get guys who's like, nah, I'm not good at this game, and then he drops it. Fighting games are unforgiving when it comes to that kind of spirit mentality. You won't get better if you have that mentality. They're definitely unforgiving. So if he comes back, then you have someone to worry about. If everybody bodies him and he comes back, then there's someone to worry about. And that's to find people like that in the FGC. They are there, but it's like one in every four. That's one of the challenges there, and I think even developers are seeing that that's one of the challenges. So they're trying to make the games a lot easier to learn. And then speaking in SA, it's just a matter of us getting the players to come to events, and that's one of the biggest things there.
Jabhi, obviously, e-gaming in South Africa, relatively new, particularly the competitive side of e-gaming. I know we've been gaming for the last 40, 50 years, starting in arcades and all the way through now. But what would your advice be to young up-and-coming gamers that look to you and go, I want to be like Jabhi Mabuza. I want to start making my name on the international circuit?
Don't quit after you lose. You know what? Watch your matches. There's nothing more to get better. You need to know where you're going wrong. And gaming is something that if you don't get better from certain situations, you'll keep losing in that same situation the same way. You know, Especially fighting games are unforgiving because if I just pick up that, oh no, this guy can't anti-air, I can jump in on him anyhow. I'm going to use that. Fighting games are mind games as well. If I pick up certain tendencies, you're going to lose to those tendencies. You need to evaluate yourself and say, okay, I keep doing this on defense, I keep doing this on offense, and I'm giving my opponent advantage. You need to evaluate yourself. You don't have a choice when it comes to fighting games. To get better, you have to do that. You know, Understanding the game is also another important thing. Yes, fighting games have the same what's this concept, just like an MMA. If you throw a short jab, you can recover faster. You throw a medium, there's a certain amount of recovery. You throw a heavy, you know what, you're in danger because I can punish you for whiffing. Yes, there's that same concept. That's true, but you also need to learn the mechanics. Because that's where they start to differ. Like, okay, now there's fireballs and stuff, but every move has a recovery. You need to understand that concept. You need to know your optimal punishes. You need to know also the characters you're going to be facing against. For example, when I went to Cape Town, I knew the characters, I knew the players because I already did my research. And I also checked myself how I played with them because in Street Fighter you can view your matches and see how you play with them. That's what I did. I checked and how I played with them, what they did, and how I can punish that, and get the optimal punish. So in general, you have to reevaluate yourself. You need to know where you're going wrong.
Well, Jabhi, I think that's very sound advice for any young gamer, let alone any young sportsman. Continuously evaluate your performance. Jabhi, thank you so much for your time. This is probably not going to be the first and last time we catch up with one another. Keep up the great work. I mean, you've been doing some fantastic stuff, continuing the wins now during lockdown. Carry on that good work. We're going to carry on watching and hopefully get to chat to you as soon as lockdown's over.
No worries. No, thanks for having me. It's much appreciated.
Great stuff. Jabhi Mabuza from Goliath Gaming, absolute honor and a privilege. You keep well.
Thanks, man. Cheers.